Across the globe, from bustling cities to quiet rural towns, millions of tons of wood ash are discarded annually from fireplaces and ovens. Few recognize that within these unassuming gray particles lies a hidden treasure, a rich blend of potassium, calcium, magnesium, and dozens of trace elements, precisely what every plant yearns for in its soil. But when this ash meets water, something profound and ancient awakens. It ignites a natural biological system that plants have relied upon for millennia, a system that repairs soil, restores balance, and fuels growth in ways modern chemical fertilizers simply cannot replicate. Yet paradoxically, gardeners today spend vast sums on synthetic fertilizers sold as fast, scientific, and indispensable. The global fertilizer industry, a multi-hundred-billion-dollar titan, flourishes on this widespread belief. What they don't want you to discover is this: a single cup of wood ash fermented in water with just a touch of sugar for 10 to 14 days can accelerate plant growth far faster and cheaper than many expensive commercial products. Anyone can create it. No complex machinery, no specialized degree, no dependence on factory-made formulas. This begs the crucial question: if this method is so effective, why isn't it common knowledge? Why isn't it championed on television or proudly displayed in garden centers? And why do some speak of it as if it were a secret, something not meant to be shared? 1. The disaster of raw wood ash. To truly appreciate the solution, we must first understand the problem: why the traditional method of using raw wood ash often fails and can even cause more harm than good. Raw wood ash. The familiar gray dust from your fireplace or last night's fire appears harmless and on paper incredibly promising. It is packed with essential nutrients like potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and a host of trace minerals. Seemingly a gardener's dream. However, here's the critical truth, often overlooked: these vital nutrients are largely inaccessible. The minerals within raw ash are trapped in hard crystalline structures that dissolve with extreme difficulty. Unlocking them can take months, even years, while your plants require immediate nutrition. They simply cannot wait for slow weathering to break the ash apart. But an even greater, more immediate danger is raw ash's extreme alkalinity. With a pH ranging from 10 to 12, it is significantly harsher than most garden soils, which typically sit between 6 and 7.5. Direct application of raw ash to soil delivers a shock to the entire ecosystem. Beneficial microbes perish, roots can burn leaves yellow, and growth stagnates. Even with nutrients abundant, the plant cannot absorb them without the living soil partners that such a high pH eradicates. Many gardeners mistakenly attribute these issues to pests or bad weather, never realizing the damage began the moment raw ash touched the soil. Yet older generations, farmers whose wisdom sustained entire harvests, understood something we have forgotten. They knew raw ash couldn't simply be added to the ground. It required transformation. And once transformed, as we'll soon discover, wood ash shifts from a harsh inert mineral powder into a vibrant living nutrient source that plants can absorb with astonishing speed. This transformation is the key, and it changes everything. 2. The discovery of fermentation. The journey to turning harsh minerals into living nutrition begins about 70 years ago in the 1950s as Korea grappled with post-war devastation. Farms struggled and villages steadily lost their independence, becoming reliant on imported chemical fertilizers and even leftover military chemicals. Amidst this challenging era, a farmer named Cho Han-kyu emerged, driven by a determination to forge a different path. He posed a series of simple yet radical questions. Was there an alternative? Could the soil's inherent richness be restored using only what the land itself provided? Was there a way to liberate farmers from their dependence on powerful, distant corporations? Rejecting the prevailing system, Cho began to experiment. He developed what would later be known as Korean natural farming, or KNF, a method centered on fermentation using native yeasts, lactic acid bacteria, and microorganisms collected directly from the fields. His fundamental goal was clear: to harness the biology of the land, not the chemistry of factories. Among his most surprising discoveries was the fermentation of waste materials, including wood ash, a substance most people simply discard. Through years of meticulous testing, Cho observed that when wood ash is combined with water and a small carbohydrate source, such as brown sugar, honey, or crushed grains, and left in darkness for 7 to 14 days, something extraordinary occurs. The ash comes alive. Yeasts and lactic acid bacteria. The microscopic engineers of the natural world begin to feed on the sugars. They multiply, release energy, and in this quiet biological process, create a unique blend of organic acids with remarkable capabilities. These include lactic acid, the gentle acid found in yogurt, acetic acid, the essence of natural vinegar, and citric acid, the bright, potent compound in lemons and oranges. These acids are not strong enough to destroy the ash, but they are precisely clever enough to transform it. They penetrate the rigid crystal structures where calcium and potassium are trapped, loosening their bonds, softening the minerals. Crucially, they encase these minerals in organic molecules, the essential first step in converting a harsh alkaline powder into a form plants can readily utilize. What was once sharp and locked becomes gentle and accessible. What was once inert becomes nourishing. What was once, in a very real sense, dead becomes alive. This was Cho Han Kyu's profound breakthrough. Fermentation doesn't merely alter the chemistry of ash, it awakens its biology. As we will soon see, this transformation makes fermented wood ash one of the fastest, most efficient, and most affordable plant tonics ever discovered. Yet it is also precisely why it never found a place within the world of commercial fertilizers. Next, we will delve into the science of chelation and understand why it enables plants to absorb these minerals with astonishing speed. 3. The science of chelation. The transformation occurring within fermented wood ash has a specific name, chelation. Derived from the Greek word for the claw of a crab, it signifies something that grasps, protects, and carries. In the realm of plant biology, chelation acts as a molecular escort service, safely guiding minerals through barriers they could never traverse alone. In raw ash, minerals like potassium and calcium exist as hard, isolated, and reactive grains easily trapped or neutralized by other soil elements. However, once fermentation introduces organic acids, lactic, acetic, and citric, an elegant process unfolds. These acids encase the minerals in a gentle organic shell. Calcium becomes calcium lactate. Potassium forms a potassium lactate complex. They are no longer raw minerals, but organic complexes that plant roots can instantly recognize and absorb. Imagine a stranger navigating a foreign city, alone, lost, anxious, unsure of the rules. Now picture that stranger with a local guide who offers a coat, speaks the language, and confidently leads them through the streets. Suddenly, they are welcomed, moving freely and without resistance. This is precisely what chelation accomplishes for minerals, transforming them from outcasts into honored guests. The organic acids form small neutral or slightly negative complexes, perfectly sized for root membranes to accept and ideally shaped for efficient transport throughout plant tissues. Consequently, minerals rush into the plant, not over months or weeks, but often within a mere 6 hours. This is not a minor improvement, it is a fundamental rewriting of agricultural speed. Yet chelation is only half the story. Fermentation also addresses the single greatest danger of raw wood ash, its punishing alkalinity. Recall that raw ash boasts a pH of 10 to 12 potent enough to decimate the living microbiology of the soil. But as fermentation proceeds, the acids produced by microbes create a pH buffer, a self-regulating chemical system that naturally achieves balance, lactic and acetic acids being weak acids with gentle pKa values of 3.59 and 4.49 don't overwhelm the mixture. Instead, they sculpt it, maintaining a steady pH and preventing sharp spikes or crashes. They establish a stable, safe, and plant-friendly chemical environment. Independent tests confirm that fermented wood ash stabilizes around a pH of 5 to 6, nearly ideal for most garden plants. Thus, instead of introducing a caustic alkaline shock to your soil, you are providing a balanced, biologically active, mineral-rich solution. This solution supports microbes instead of killing them, feeds roots instead of burning them, and mirrors the natural harmony plants evolved with over thousands of years. Chelation is more than a chemical trick. It is the vital bridge between harsh minerals and living plants, the moment nature steps in to transform something rough into something profoundly nourishing. With this bridge now open, the minerals within wood ash can finally move, not slowly or reluctantly, but with astonishing speed. Next, we will explore the precise impact this mineral-rich fermented solution has once it reaches a plant's roots, revealing why gardeners worldwide are amazed by results seen in just days. 4. Real-time impact on the plant. Now let's delve into what truly matters to every gardener, the visible real-time impact on the plant, often leading to what some call miracles within 14 to 21 days. Beyond the chemistry and theory, the fundamental question is simple. How does the plant respond and how quickly, from Korea to Japan, India to East Africa, and across North America, gardeners using fermented wood ash consistently report the same remarkable pattern, a rhythm so predictable it has become a living scientific timeline. It all begins beneath the soil. During week 1, the root revival. Approximately 3 to 7 days after the first application, something extraordinary occurs underground. Roots begin to expand with incredible intensity. New root hairs, thin white and delicate as threads of silk, burst forth from existing roots. These fine snow-white strands are clear indicators of a plant awakening, stretching, and actively seeking opportunity. The catalyst for this rapid expansion is calcium. Calcium isn't merely a nutrient, it's a fundamental builder strengthening cell walls and forming the scaffolding for new root tissue to develop quickly and safely. When chelated calcium lactate complexes from fermented ash reach the root zone, the plant suddenly possesses the essential building material to expand rapidly. Roots cease acting like passive drinking straws and transform into active explorers, sensing their environment, branching outward and absorbing water and nutrients with far greater efficiency. During week 2, the leaf transformation. Between days 7 and 14, the plant often undergoes a dramatic shift in color. A green so deep, so saturated, so vibrantly alive, spreads across the canopy that gardeners worldwide instantly recognize it as the true green. The hue of a plant not just surviving, but truly thriving. This profound change stems from magnesium, the very heart of chlorophyll, the molecule responsible for capturing sunlight and converting it into energy. You can supply all the nitrogen you wish, but without sufficient magnesium, leaves cannot produce true chlorophyll. They remain pale, weak, and tired. However, when chelated magnesium citrate complexes from fermented ash enter the plant, the chlorophyll engine roars to life. Sunlight transforms into sugar into energy, and energy into robust growth. The plant is no longer idling, it is building with purpose. During week 2 to week 3, the real acceleration. Around days 14 to 21, as magnesium fuels photosynthesis and calcium supports the burgeoning root structure. Potassium assumes its role as the system's master conductor. Potassium meticulously controls the flow of water nutrients and especially carbohydrates throughout the plant. It governs the movement of sugars from the leaves where they are created to the buds, fruits, and new tissues where they are most critically needed. Without potassium, sugar remains stranded in the leaves. With potassium, sugar becomes vital construction material. This is precisely why gardeners frequently report explosive growth, often seeing 20%, 30%, or even 50% increases in height or leaf mass within just a few weeks. Tomato plants thicken and produce new clusters, lettuce becomes wider, denser, and richer, and young trees push out new shoots faster than anticipated. Every part of the plant accelerates because for the first time its internal transportation system is fully powered. It's at this stage that farmers shed their doubts as the plant no longer merely whispers improvement. It announces it loudly, visibly, and undeniably. What began as gray powder from an old fireplace has now become one of the most efficient plant boosters nature can craft. The beauty is that it works not by forcing the plant, but by powerfully supporting the very systems the plant naturally wants to utilize. In our next section, we will uncover why, despite these astonishing results, this method never became mainstream and why powerful industries quietly distanced themselves from it. 5. The hidden science of flowers and fruit. Now we arrive at the part that truly astonishes gardeners, revealing why fermented ash makes plants go wild. While stronger roots and greener leaves are certainly wonderful to witness, the moment fermented wood ash influences the flowering cycle, something truly remarkable unfolds. It's so striking that thousands of gardeners have shared videos exclaiming, "I can't believe this," or "This changed everything." The profound impact lies in how fermented ash influences blossoms and fruit, and how nature responds when potassium, calcium, and magnesium become available in forms the plant can genuinely utilize. It all begins with potassium, the quiet king of flower formation. Potassium is far more than just a nutrient for flowers. It acts almost like a natural stimulant. It actively triggers the development of reproductive tissues. the very cells that form buds. It meticulously regulates stomata, the tiny pores allowing leaves to breathe cool themselves and manage water. Furthermore, it fine-tunes the plant's internal chemistry, enabling the blooming process to occur fully and rapidly. When potassium arrives in a chelated, readily absorbable form, the plant transitions from merely thinking about flowering to fully committing to it. The results are extraordinary. Plants don't just produce blossoms, they yield more blossoms, stronger blossoms, and significantly earlier blossoms. A tomato plant in ordinary soil might typically wait 40 to 50 days before its first buds appear. Yet gardeners using fermented ash report blossoms forming in as little as 25 to 30 days, nearly 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule. The flowers are larger, the petals richer in color, and the plant exudes a noticeable confidence, no longer struggling for vital nutrients. Then calcium steps onto the stage to profoundly transform the fruit. Calcium is the architect of structure building robust cell walls and creating firm, resilient tissues capable of withstanding pressure, temperature fluctuations, and nature's inevitable bumps and bruises. In fruit, this structural strength is far more critical than most realize, as calcium deficiency causes one of gardening's most heartbreaking problems, blossom end rot. That dark, soft, collapsing patch at the bottom of a tomato isn't a disease, it's a direct consequence of a calcium shortage. Yet when chelated calcium from fermented ash reaches the fruiting tissues, this entire problem often vanishes. The plant has the raw material to construct strong, healthy fruit from the inside out. These fruits resist cracking, store longer, remain firmer, taste cleaner, and maintain their shape. Magnesium once again fuels the entire system. With magnesium powering chlorophyll photosynthesis reaches its absolute peak. Leaves produce an abundance of sugar, pure energy, which then flows through the plant's internal transport system, expertly guided by potassium. This sugar concentrates in the fruit, leading to a rise in Brix levels, deeper flavors, stronger aromas, and improved textures. Few gardeners anticipate this, yet it is a predictable outcome of this synergistic system: enhanced energy from magnesium, superior sugar transport from potassium, and robust fruit structure from calcium, resulting in longer shelf life, reduced disease, and exceptional taste. It's not a single nutrient acting in isolation, it's the perfect harmony of all three unlocked through fermentation. This harmony makes fermented wood ash not merely a fertilizer, but a complete system that elevates a plant's performance from root to bloom to fruit, leaving gardeners shaking their heads and asking, "Why didn't I learn this years ago?" In the next chapter, we will delve into the deeper question: if this works so profoundly well, why was it never embraced by mainstream agriculture, and why did this method recede into the quiet corners of the world for 70 years? 6. Scientific evidence. Let's be unequivocally clear before proceeding. Fermented wood ash is neither a superstition nor a gardener's fantasy, and it is certainly not a placebo. Independent scientists specializing in Korean natural farming, researchers not beholden to fertilizer corporations, alongside thousands of gardeners spanning the globe from Japan to India, East Africa to North America, have rigorously tested it head-to-head against traditional chemical fertilizers. The results present a compelling narrative that is impossible to disregard. Multiple trials consistently demonstrate that fermented ash yields 30% to 50% more total growth than untreated plants. Even in direct comparisons with standard NPK chemical fertilizers, plants treated with fermented ash still grow approximately 20% taller. When scientists measured shoot-length, fermented ash boosted growth by roughly 30%, while chemical NPK achieved around 20%. In essence, fermentation conferred a 10-point advantage, a margin significant enough to alter the outcome of an entire growing season. However, the most dramatic difference manifests underground. After just 14 days, roots nourished with fermented ash are thick, vibrantly white, and bursting with vitality. They appear alive and ready for robust work. In stark contrast, roots exposed to raw ash become sparse, darkened, and visibly stressed. Roots treated with chemical fertilizers fall somewhere in between, superior to raw ash, but far from the vigorous network fostered by fermentation. Then, of course, we consider flowers and fruit, the ultimate test for any gardener. Fermented ash consistently induces earlier blooms, often 2 to 3 weeks ahead of schedule. Fruit size increases by 15% to 25%. Devastating issues like blossom end rot and similar disorders plummet by 40% to 60%, and harvest arrives 1 to 2 weeks sooner. Chemical fertilizers. Their results are highly variable. A slight excess causes leaf burn. Too little leads to nutrient deficiencies, trapping the plant in a cycle of chemical dependence, frequently necessitating pesticides and additional boosters merely to maintain balance. Beyond yield, there's the crucial question of taste, the true measure of a healthy plant. Gardeners utilizing fermented ash frequently report a 15% to 25% increase in Brix, the indicator of natural sugars within fruit. The flavor becomes richer, more complex, and profoundly satisfying. Conversely, fruit grown with chemical fertilizers, while sweet, is often described by many gardeners as flat, watery, or strangely hollow. And then there's resilience, perhaps where fermented ash shines brightest. Plants treated with it exhibit 30% to 50% fewer fungal issues, reduced pest damage, significantly stronger drought resistance, and improved cold tolerance. Their cells are more robust, their roots retain more moisture, and their immune responses are faster and more stable. Chemical fertilizers simply cannot offer this comprehensive protection. They frequently necessitate a secondary layer of chemical defenses, pesticides, fungicides, and treatments, perpetuating a cycle of dependency. Therefore, when we examine the complete picture, growth, roots, flowers, fruit flavor, longevity, and resilience, the conclusion becomes undeniable. Fermented wood ash is not just better, it is superior in a deeper, more sustainable, and more holistic manner. Yet chemical fertilizers continue to dominate the global market. Why? Because they are immensely profitable, predictable, easy to standardize, package control, and sell consistently year after year. Fermented ash conversely resists standardization, cannot be patented, and defies control at an industrial scale. It fundamentally returns power to the gardener. And that, as we will soon explore, is precisely why this method was never embraced by the industries built upon maintaining your dependence. 7. The real secret. Now we confront the pivotal question that has undoubtedly lingered throughout this entire journey. If fermented wood ash performs so exceptionally well, if gardeners globally are witnessing such explosive growth, then why isn't any major company selling it? Why are there no glossy advertisements, no gleaming bottles, no supermarket aisles brimming with fermented ash fertilizer? The answer isn't that it's ineffective, unsafe, or officially banned by governments. The truth is far simpler and far more profoundly revealing. Fermented wood ash is alive and living products inherently refuse to conform to the rigid rules of global industry. To grasp why corporations shun it, we must first examine the issue of biological stability. Fermented ash teems with living microorganisms, lactic acid bacteria like lactobacillus and pediococcus yeasts, such as Saccharomyces, and countless native microbes collected from air, soil, and plant surfaces. These are not inert chemicals. They cannot passively reside on a warehouse shelf for 5 years without undergoing change. They respire, consume sugars, multiply, age, and eventually decline. If a bottle is stored too long at room temperature, beneficial microbes slowly perish. If temperatures soar above 30 degrees Celsius, the culture can entirely collapse. Conversely, if temperatures drop too low, microbes enter dormancy, altering the delicate balance of acids and minerals. Prolonged exposure to air can invite opportunistic molds and undesirable microbes. Now imagine attempting to sell such a product worldwide. In January, a company ships a batch that performs beautifully. Customers are delighted. In February, another batch endures 2 days in a hot truck. The microbes die, customers apply it, and nothing happens. In March, a shipment is stored in a damp warehouse. Mold appears, plants suffer burns, and refunds flood in. This kind of batch-to-batch variability is an absolute corporate nightmare. Companies demand uniformity, consistency, and predictability. Fermented ash offers none of these. It behaves like life itself. Wonderful, powerful, yet utterly unpredictable at an industrial scale. Consequently, businesses distance themselves. But the challenges extend even deeper than mere stability, because fermented ash also refuses to align with the economics of global agriculture. Fermentation is intrinsically guided by local microorganisms. The microbes found in Korea differ from those in Belgium, India, Japan, or South America. Air, soil composition, humidity, and native vegetation all contribute to shaping the unique microbial community. While this biodiversity is a marvel of nature, it is a disaster for industrial standardization. Corporations cannot mass-produce fermented ash because no two batches created in different regions, seasons, or climates will ever be identical. The product cannot be locked into a rigid formula, cannot be made perfectly repeatable, and therefore cannot satisfy stringent industrial regulations or marketing claims. And then comes the ultimate blow: fermented ash cannot be patented. Chemical fertilizers are profitable precisely because they are proprietary. A company invents a formula, secures a 20-year patent, and compels farmers to purchase it repeatedly. This is the fundamental economic engine of the fertilizer industry: permanent dependency. But fermented ash, it is simply ash water, sugar, and time. Anyone can make it anywhere in the world at any scale. This entirely shatters the conventional business model. It cannot be controlled, monopolized, or transformed into a subscription product. Perhaps most threatening of all, it restores local power. A gardener in Manila can make it, a farmer in Kenya can make it, a retiree in Ohio can make it, a child in Bangladesh can make it. No more reliance on global supply chains, no more waiting for imported bottles, no more accepting arbitrary prices dictated by multinational corporations. This is the aspect companies fear most, because the moment gardeners learn to cultivate their own fertility, they step outside the economic cage that industrial agriculture spent decades constructing. Fermented wood ash empowers the individual, and true empowerment is something industries rarely choose to advertise. In the next and final section, we will reveal how you can safely create this transformative solution at home and how to use it to unlock your garden's full potential. 8. The invisible control mechanism. Now we venture into territory rarely discussed, a part of the story that agricultural industry leaders desperately hope you never fully comprehend: the invisible control mechanism. Despite pervasive rumors, there is no official ban on fermented wood ash. No government agency has declared it illegal, nor does any federal rule prohibit its creation, use, or teaching. Such a law simply does not exist. Certainly, strict regulations apply to industrial ash, material generated by coal plants or large combustion facilities which may contain hazardous heavy metals like cadmium, lead, and arsenic. Such material absolutely requires regulation and monitoring. However, the ash from your home fireplace, wood stove, or backyard oven falls into no such category. There are no legal restrictions, no formal prohibitions, no bureaucratic red tape preventing anyone from using it. This distinction reveals something profoundly important. The ban people perceive is not legal but economic. It is the calculated outcome of a system designed, whether intentionally or not, to suppress anything that threatens the agricultural status quo. Upon closer examination, you discover that fermented ash isn't suppressed by law, but by an intricate network of silent pressures, subtle incentives, and powerful financial motives, all pushing in a singular direction. To understand this dynamic, we must follow the money. Chemical fertilizer companies have no desire for gardeners and farmers to convert wood ash into a potent living nutrient solution. Why would they? This industry generates billions annually, and every instance of someone cultivating their own fertility at home directly weakens that revenue stream. Therefore, these companies actively influence the narrative. They fund agricultural education, sponsor university programs, and contribute to departments that perpetually teach that chemical fertilizers are the sole reliable method. They purchase extensive commercial airtime, meticulously shape public messaging, and cultivate the impression that without their products, nothing will grow. And governments. They seldom promote fermented ash because their agencies often rely indirectly on the industry. Budgets are intertwined with partnerships, policies align with international guidelines shaped by global corporations, and any shift toward natural methods risks criticism for deviating from established industrial standards. Universities too play their part, though typically not out of malice. Fermented ash is inherently challenging to study. It is alive, unstable, and impossible to fully standardize for conventional research. Research demands funding, and corporations simply do not invest in projects that might prove something cheaper and more accessible than the products they sell. Professors teach what is already in textbooks. Textbooks are often written with industry support, and thus the cycle perpetuates. Journalists rarely cover fermented ash either, not because they oppose it, most have simply never heard of it. There are no press releases, no marketing campaigns, no corporate PR machinery announcing its existence. And if someone does attempt to publish an article, they are frequently met with condescending pushback: it's unscientific, it's unsafe, it's unproven, arguments that sound authoritative yet conveniently shield an existing market. Farmers too hesitate to adopt it. They have been taught that plants require chemical fertilizer to survive. They fear the risk, understanding that if their initial attempt at fermentation fails, they could jeopardize an entire season's income. They often lack the community networks that robustly support natural farming in places like Korea, India, or parts of Japan, where farmers readily share techniques, troubleshoot together, and learn collectively. So the system remains closed not through overt force, but through sheer momentum, an invisible mesh of financial incentives, institutional habits, and economic pressures quietly filters which ideas flourish and which ideas vanish. There is no grand conspiracy, no secret law. There is simply a powerful, self-sustaining structure that inherently rewards products that can be patented, standardized, mass-produced, and sold indefinitely. Fermented ash is none of these things. It is homemade, local-free, and fundamentally disrupts the economic model upon which industrial agriculture depends. That is precisely why it was ignored, not because it doesn't work, but because it works too well without anyone profiting from it. In the next section, we'll examine the surprising history behind these forces and explore why gardeners are now rediscovering a method that should never have been forgotten. 9. The precise formula and method. Having explored why fermented wood ash is so effective, let's now reveal the precise formula and method for making it yourself at home. The true beauty of this process is its simplicity. You require no specialized equipment, expensive ingredients, or anything beyond what most households already possess. All you need is 1 cup of clean wood ash, 10 cups of water, a spoonful of sugar or honey, a glass jar, and a breathable cloth cover. The process itself is straightforward. Combine the ingredients, cover the jar securely, yet allow for ventilation, and then simply let nature perform its ancient work. During the initial few days, the mixture may appear quiescent, but a subtle, gentle fermentation aroma will begin to emerge. By days 4 to 7, the liquid will visibly separate into a clearer top layer and a distinct settling bottom layer, your unmistakable signal that the microbes are fully awake and actively working. Between days 7 and 14, the transformation reaches its peak. Minerals are unlocked, potent organic acids are formed, and the nutrients become bioavailable in a form plants can absorb almost instantly. After this optimal window, simply strain the liquid and store it in a cool, dark place, because this extract is both alive and highly concentrated. Dilution is essential before use. A 10-to-1 dilution, 10 parts water to 1 part extract for soil drenching once a week, is ideal for most plants, while a lighter 20-to-1 dilution works beautifully as a foliar spray. You can even incorporate a cup or two into your compost to significantly accelerate decomposition. It is simple, elegant, and astonishingly powerful. A mere handful of ash transformed into one of the most effective natural tonics you can create at home. Given that the full recipe and detailed usage instructions are too comprehensive for this video, we have provided the complete formula and step-by-step guidance in both the video description and the pinned comment, allowing you to follow along easily at your own pace. In the next segment, we'll uncover what this humble homemade formula truly reveals about the broader gardening industry and why such an effective solution was never intended to reach your hands. 10. Limitations and necessary warnings. Before you enthusiastically rush to make your first batch, it's crucial to understand a truth. No fertilizer company will ever openly state fermented wood ash is powerful, but it is not magic, nor will it replace the fundamental needs of a living plant. There is no miracle without measure. Let's begin with the most important truth. This extract does not replace good soil, it enriches what is already there. If your soil is compacted, depleted of organic matter, or damaged by years of chemical overuse, fermented ash will certainly help, but it cannot single-handedly fix the foundational issues. Healthy soil still demands compost organic matter and time. It requires a thriving, living ecosystem beneath your feet. The second limitation is equally straightforward. Plants still require the basics. Consistent water, ample daily light, and stable temperatures are non-negotiable. No tonic on earth can revive a plant left in cold, soggy darkness or under a scorching sun without moisture. Fermented ash enhances resilience. It does not override nature's essential requirements. Furthermore, acknowledge that no two batches will be precisely identical. What you create in winter may not behave exactly like what you make in summer. Your local water source, native microbes, and storage conditions all influence the final brew. This isn't a flaw, it's part of the inherent beauty of biological gardening. However, it means you must learn to read your mixture, observing its smell, color, and clarity, and adjust your approach accordingly. Then there's plant preference. While most vegetables, flowers, and fruiting plants flourish with this tonic, a few species prefer higher pH levels or different mineral balances. For these, fermented ash might not be ideal unless you specifically tweak its application. This is why consistent observation week after week becomes your most invaluable tool. Now, a crucial warning: not all ash is safe. Industrial ash from factories, coal plants, construction waste, or burned buildings can contain hazardous heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, and lead. These toxins can accumulate in soil over time and eventually enter your food chain. Therefore, the inviolable rule to protect your garden and your health is this: only use ash from natural, clean sources. This includes wood stoves, home fireplaces, brick ovens, or small artisan burners. Never use ash from industrial sites or commercial fuel sources. If your ash is clean, your fermentation is alive, and your soil is tended with care, this tonic becomes one of the most powerful tools in a home gardener's hands. Yet, like every tool nature provides, it performs optimally when wielded with wisdom, not impatience. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why, despite all its remarkable potential, this method remained hidden in the shadows for so long. 11. The bigger picture. Now let's momentarily step back from the intricate science to consider something far grander: the global fertilizer empire and the sophisticated system designed to protect it. Because behind every garden, every field, every bag of fertilizer on a store shelf, there operates a colossal machine. This machine is immense, with the global fertilizer industry commanding a staggering value exceeding $300 billion annually. Not millions, but billions. It is not merely an industry, it is a formidable empire. And here is how this empire functions. It commences with multinational corporations, colossal entities that hold patents, dictate production, and fundamentally shape the rules of engagement. Governments, frequently supported either directly or indirectly by these very companies, then craft policies that overwhelmingly favor synthetic fertilizers. These include subsidies, regulations, and standards that subtly but firmly steer farmers in a singular direction. Universities reliant on industry funding impart a singular worldview to agricultural students. Modern farming is inextricably linked to chemical fertilizers. Teachers trained by these same universities propagate this message to successive generations. And farmers, caught between policy pressures, economic realities, and the profound fear of crop failure, continue to purchase these fertilizers year after year, convinced they have no alternative. Meanwhile, consumers, influenced by pervasive advertising and governmental messaging, are led to believe that food grown with synthetic fertilizer is not only safe, but absolutely essential. This forms a closed, self-reinforcing system. Each layer strengthens the next. No one needs to lie, no one needs to force anything. The machine simply perpetuates itself. Now envision what fermented wood ash represents within such a monolithic system. It is not merely a homemade tonic, it is a profound threat, a quiet, inconvenient, and deeply destabilizing truth. Because fermented wood ash declares you do not need a corporation to cultivate healthy plants. You do not need a patented formula, a subscription, a dependency, or a costly marketing campaign. You can create it yourself from resources you already possess. This message doesn't merely compete with the system, it fundamentally shatters the very philosophy upon which the system is constructed. And so fermented ash is not banned, it is simply ignored. It is not taught in schools, not promoted by governments, not funded by industry, and never appears in glossy advertisements during primetime television. Yet in community gardens, on small farms, and through late-night YouTube videos shared among passionate gardeners, it spreads quietly, stubbornly, like a resilient seed no one intended to drop. People share it not for profit, but because it works. And that, more than any other factor, is why this method has endured in the shadows. 12. The path forward. Local freedom and a future that's truly possible. So now the critical question arises: what happens next? Where does this vital knowledge go, and what kind of future might unfold if gardeners and farmers truly grasp the profound potential of fermented wood ash? Let's explore the three distinct paths ahead. The first possibility is the simplest and arguably the safest for the existing industrial system. Fermented ash remains a quiet secret. It continues to exist in the shadows, shared discreetly from gardener to gardener, whispered through online communities, and passed from one small farm to another like a treasured family recipe. It spreads but slowly. It grows but quietly, precisely because there is no profit engine behind it, no company to patent it, no billion-dollar incentive to broadcast it from the rooftops. And strangely, this might prove to be a blessing, for when corporations keep their distance, the power remains firmly in local hands. The second possibility is more complicated. Corporations eventually notice the burgeoning trend. They detect an opportunity, a scent of potential profit. They begin packaging something they market as standardized fermented ash, complete with attractive labels, sophisticated marketing, and premium price tags. Yet inevitably, they encounter the very same truth Chohan Q discovered decades ago: a living product simply cannot be standardized. Some batches will be potent, others weak, and some will perish on the shelf. Consumers will purchase it, try it, experience mixed results, and soon the prevailing public narrative will become, "It doesn't really work." And just like that, the method is dismissed. Not because it failed, but because it was transformed into something it was never meant to be: a mass-produced commodity. When this happens, the system triumphs once more. But then there is the third path, the one that genuinely matters, the one we are diligently building together on platforms like this. It is the path where individuals, one gardener, one farmer, one family at a time, learn to craft fermented ash themselves. From their own wood, their own water, their own local microbes, and their own land. Imagine a farmer in India no longer relying on imported fertilizer from Korea or the United States. Picture a grower in Nigeria brewing rich nutrients from local ash and indigenous microorganisms. Envision a small rooftop gardener in Vietnam fermenting ash from a neighbor's stove and cultivating vegetables that taste as if they came from another era. And a senior gardener here in America, perhaps someone watching this video right now, discovering that independence tastes far sweeter than any chemical product ever sold. This is the future that truly frightens the fertilizer empire. Not widespread riots, not public protests, not even major policy shifts, but something far quieter, yet infinitely more powerful: people learning to nourish their soil without ever asking permission from anyone. That is true local freedom. That is agricultural sovereignty. That is a future built from the ground up, quite literally. And if that future arrives, it will not be because a corporation permitted it. It will be because ordinary gardeners just like you decided to take one small step back toward nature and a giant leap forward into independence. Conclusion: what rises after the fire and what comes next? After everything we've uncovered together, the intricate science, the underlying economics, the political landscape, and the quiet resistance, we arrive at the profound heart of it all. A single cup of wood ash, a little water, a spoonful of sugar, and 2 weeks of patient fermentation. That is truly all it takes to fundamentally change the way you grow forever. It isn't magic, nor is it a universal cure-all, but it is an extraordinarily powerful tool, local, democratic, completely ungoverned by corporations, and accessible to absolutely anyone who chooses to embrace it. And that precisely is why it was ignored. That is why some once deemed it forbidden. Not because any law ever banned it, but because the combined forces of education, advertising, and economic power quietly pushed it out of sight. But here you are, listening, learning, and actively reclaiming something that was never meant to be hidden. And once you know this, once you try it, once you witness your plants respond in ways synthetic fertilizers simply cannot replicate, you will inevitably pass this knowledge on. To a fellow gardener, to a farmer, to a neighbor, to your community. This is how forbidden ideas ultimately fall, not through governmental decrees, but through shared knowledge, local empowerment, and the rediscovery of wisdom that was deeply understood 70 years ago, 700 years ago, and perhaps even 7,000 years ago. So go find a handful of clean wood, ash, add water, add sugar, allow it to rest in the quiet darkness, and in 2 weeks, observe your plants achieve things chemical fertilizers were never designed or permitted to do. This isn't merely because this method is natural, though nature certainly plays a pivotal role, but because it works with the plant, not against it. It works with the soil life, not in spite of it. It works with biology's ancient fundamental rules, not in defiance of them. That is why it's fast. That is why it's effective. And that is precisely why those who profit from your dependence prefer that you never learn it. But now you do. Now you are empowered, and from this moment forward, everything changes. Thank you for watching. The fact that you stayed until the very end signifies your commitment to truth, to the health of your soil, and to fostering greater independence in your garden. Here at Evergreen Seniors, our mission isn't to sell you what you don't need. It's simply to reveal what the industry prefers to keep quiet. We provide you with the tools to reclaim control for yourself, your plants, and your community. If this message resonated with you, please subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment below, because shared knowledge is the real power. And that more than anything is what the world tries hardest to suppress. We will continue sharing, empowering, and growing with you. Thank you.